Zambia, and welcome to the third quarterfinals of the Smart Voices Debate Season 2, sponsored by Zambia Revenue Authority. My name is Chanzi Sikazin, and I'll be your host for this season. Let's get right into it. Today's motion, we have, this House believes that newly established local SMEs should have a tax holiday for 1 year. And I quote, this House believes that newly established local SMEs should have a tax holiday for 1 year. Proposing to this motion is Kablonga Girls, and opposing to this motion is Monali Boys. I will now read the rules of this debate. No religious references, quotations, or concepts will be allowed. Physical evidence is allowed, which includes a demonstration of evidence and shall be handed over to the adjudicator. Handwritten, printed, or published materials. The following items are prohibited in the preparation room: mobile phones, particularly smartphones, cameras, tablets, PCs, MP3 players, and anything that can store data electronically and or connect to the internet. All phones must be on silent. The sequence of the debate shall be as follows. The first speakers on each team present their argument for 4 minutes, no interjections. The second and third speakers will speak for 3 minutes. Interjections will be allowed. The speaker summarizing will be allowed 4 minutes, no interjections. Interjections are allowed and shall be done as follows. Interjections will be allowed after the first 1 minute of a speaker taking the floor. Each interjection will be done within a minute. A speaker can only be interjected twice. The moderator will enforce the rules allowing or rejecting interjections or calls for support. The timekeeper will pause the speaker's time when there's an interjection. A team can propose to support a speaker after an interjection. Let's get right into it. I will now call upon the first speaker from the proposing side.
Beautiful and brilliant. I put the M in magnificent. I am the long-anticipated and unbested Mwakachimwe Nirongo. But before I go on about my vast knowledge, allow me to acknowledge the presence of the dignitaries present in this auditorium. To Chairperson, I salute you. Panel of educators, I bow. To timekeeper, keep your time on track. To the lovely audience, sit back, relax, and listen to this battle of the brains. Allow me to simplify and say, all diplomatic etiquette be highly observed. Now, getting back to the motion, which states, as I quote, that this House believes that newly established local SMEs should have a 1-year tax holiday. But before I go any further, allow me to define the key words. Newly established. This means recently created or newly founded. SME. This simply refers to small and medium enterprises. A year, a period of 12 months or 365 days. A tax holiday, this is simply an exemption from paying tax over a given or stipulated period. Now, allow me to get back into business. Members of this House, indeed House of Intellectuals, SMEs face multiple problems in Zambia, including limited access to finances. This simply means that these SMEs are not given enough finances and also are finding it hard to procure loans because of the high interest rates of 29.120, which simply means that they pay 29.120% more taxes, for their loans. Members of this House, indeed House of Intellectuals, it is due to this that SMEs find it rather strenuous to pay back this amount. And the best solution to this would be the tax holiday, simply because SMEs are given what is known as enhanced cash flow, which simply means money going into and out of the business for investment and expenses. So when the SMEs have got extra money, they are able to save that money to pay back their loans and also to have their profits in turn to well-establish their business. And a well-established business simply means that the government is able to tax more from it. Allow me to quote from the revised National Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Development Policy that states that access to finance remains one of the major challenges faced by MSMEs due to, among others, high cost of credit collateral. According to the Bank of Zambia Bank Taker of 2018. And also, they face many difficulties in accessing finance through traditional financial institutions, simply meaning that they are not finding enough evidence. They are not getting enough finances from these institutions. May the Good Samaritan pass this over to the judges for further analysis. Awesome. Members of this House, indeed House of Intellectuals, another challenge is unfavorable business environment, which is basically the high cost of operations in Zambia. Because things come at a high cost, the people are unable to pay for their costs effectively. The tax holiday, another solution presented, because it allows for them to have, again, enhanced cash flow, which means they're able to pay for their day-to-day dealings. This is, I'll quote again from the revised National Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises on the unfavorable MSME business environment. Zambia has been implementing ease of doing business reforms aimed at ensuring regulatory environment is conducive for operations. But despite these achievements, the SME environment is hampered by poor access to areas of economic activity and inadequate electricity supply, compounding their ability to survive. Can the Good Samaritan please pass this over to the judges for further analysis? And now, members of this House, indeed House of Intellectuals, due to the tax holiday, the SMEs are able to save the money they could have used for tax, of which was the corporate income tax rate of 30 seconds to sum up.
30 seconds allowed.
Thank you. The corporate income tax rate, of which is the taxable income entities other than individuals. I quoted from the Action Aids Act on the Zambian taxation system. May the Good Samaritan pass this over to the judges for further analysis. Now, members of this House, indeed House of Intellectuals, this promises future long-term revenue. Would you rather take little from a business that is barely managing to survive, or take more from a business that is well established and will pay more? With that said, members of this House, I rest my case.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for breaking down the motion for us. I will now call upon the first speaker from the opposing side.
Tax holiday, a solution. Madam Speaker, are you sure? A tax holiday is a foundation of dependence. And when it ends, SMEs, they collapse. We as team opposition don't want to build something which is temporary. We want to build something which is lasting and something which brings about development and which supports our newly established local SMEs. Arms of appreciation, I raise to you, the judges, the chairperson, and the moderator. Standing in front of you is none other than Zulu Remy, here to strongly oppose to the motion which states, as I quote, "This House believes that newly established local SMEs should have a tax holiday of 1 year." End of quotation. Being the first speaker from team opposition, it is indeed my role to outline the important terms of the motion. Newly established local SMEs, these are small and medium enterprises in their first year of operation. A tax holiday. A tax holiday, it is a period where a business is exempted from paying certain tax. 1 year. 1 year, it is a period of 12 months. May the Good Samaritan pass this to the judge for further verification of definitions. The first year of a business, it is about planting a seed, not harvesting profit. And I heard first speaker from team proposition saying a tax is the solution. Now, one question, how does a tax solve the finance problems which the newly established local SMEs are facing? If you are not aware, a tax holiday means these people are not supposed to pay any tax. Now, if these people are earning less profit, meaning they are not supposed to pay more tax. If these people are earning nothing, meaning they are not supposed to pay anything. Now, how does that become a solution to solve the finance problem, the market issues, and the issues which our newly established local SMEs are facing? We should focus on solving their problems, not putting up a tax holiday which does not solve anything. Members of the House, the tax holiday makes it to say we must not pay tax, and the newly established local SMEs, they should not pay tax. Now, how does it solve the problems which these newly established local SMEs are facing? They are facing market. They don't have skills. They don't have customers to do their businesses. Now, if we put a tax holiday, are they going to do their business well? Are they going to earn any profit? No. They're not going to earn anything. Members of the House, don't be deceived by the looks. Let me help you enter the books. I know team preposition will try and come here to convince us to say a tax holiday, it is a supportive, it is generous. They will try and tell us to say a tax holiday boosts the entrepreneurship levels. Now, What is entrepreneurship without profit? It's more like you're giving someone a car without fuel. Where do you expect them to go? Nowhere. Members of the House, they will try and tell us to say a tax holiday reduces the burdens. Now, what burden are we talking about? If these people are earning less, meaning that they pay tax which is less. If these people are earning nothing, meaning that they will pay nothing. Now, what burden are we talking about? The real burden which these people are facing, it is lack of customers, lack of business markets, lack of skills, and lack of where to get the capital to start from. Now, a tax holiday, a person who doesn't have a capital and you give him a tax holiday, how is it going to help that newly established SMEs to gain a capital? Is that sensitive? No, it's not. Members of the House, let us prioritize to support and solve the problems which our newly established local SMEs are facing. If we want to solve this, we must find the initiatives. And the initiatives, it is about educating them on how they can gain skills, educate and making the market wide so that they can able to be trade and to trade what they have so that they can have capital, and after that they should be able to pay tax, not giving them a tax holiday which does not even solve anything. It is more like just a title, or maybe I should say a photo frame in their house. Now it's solving nothing. Members of the House, may the Good Samaritan pass this to the judge for further verification of what is affecting our newly established SMEs. We should prioritize what works and forget what doesn't, because if we do that, we'll be able to move with confidence, knowing that we have supported our leading boosters of our economy, who are the newly established local SMEs, not us putting up a tax holiday which does not even solve their problems. I, Zulu Remy, raised my case.
Thank you so much, Mr. First Speaker, for truly living up to your title as the icebreaker. I will now call upon the second speaker from the proposing side.
Thank you, Ms. Chairperson, for that call. Indeed, I'm humbled. Distinguished and dignified affiliates of this House of Debate, I, as the second speaker from the proposing delegation, would like to pass on my humble salutation to the following people. To the chairperson, I salute. To the panel of judicators, of whose jurisdiction I shall humbly accept. To my ever-attentive audience, together with the timekeeper, I say sit back, relax, as you enjoy the words of the wise. It's in the order of seniority, I say all protocols be highly and highly observed. Now, I stand here firmly, proposing to the motion which states as I quote, this House believes that local, newly established, local SMEs should indeed be given a one-year tax holiday, end of quote. Why do I say so? Let me take you through my stand. When we allow these newly established SMEs to grow without the immediate payment of taxes, they can use those funds to reinvest in their businesses, hence providing support during the vulnerable early stages of business. Members of this august House, indeed House of Intellectuals, that will grow and expand the business, that will better position them into hiring more employees, leading to job creation, of which we know that SMEs are a significant job creator in Zambia. To support this...
Point of interjection allowed.
Madam Speaker, you said that if SMEs are given a tax holiday, they get to generate more capital, right? Now, if these SMEs are not empowered and they're still facing the challenges like poor road network, market facilities, lack of training and everything, how is that going to help them run their business? Because if you give them a tax holiday without capital, how are they going to run that business without capital?
Point of defense.
Point of defense allowed.
Mr. Speaker, before you begin a business, capital is considered. I cannot begin to run a business, think of having a business without having capital, because what would I be running? Nothing. So,
point of rebuttal allowed.
We all know the first stage of starting a business. What is the first stage? Starting a business, you need to have an idea. Once you have an idea, once you have a goal in mind, you start setting goals to reach that idea. From the idea, that's when you start thinking of where you're going to get the capital and where you're going to start the business from. So it's first the idea and not thinking about where capital comes from.
May you please have an idea to let me finish? Thank you. A one-year tax holiday removes corporate income tax, which is an amount that is levied from a profit made by a business or a company, providing support during the toughest period of business. That will allow them to reinvest their cash into operations such as marketing and
Point of
advertising
interjection denied.
to boost and stimulate the business. To support this, I'll pass this on to the Good Samaritan for further
Point of
clarification.
interjection allowed.
By the way, I love your fluency. You spoke of, my main question is, considering that when we enforce the one-year tax holiday, it will bring about issues of SMEs, newly established SMEs, re-registering as new SMEs each year. So what solution should be done in order to curb such issues? Thank you.
Point of defense allowed.
Yes, honorable member from the opposing dedication. Yes. The best solution for this is because the best example I can give to you is during the pandemic, the global pandemic of COVID-19 during the period of 2020 to 2021. During that time, SMEs were unable. SMEs were unable to start up their businesses because of that crisis, but big corporations like Tradekins were able to fill in the gaps during those 2 years. Meaning if they are granted a one-year tax holiday, that example shows that government is more than capable to fill in the gaps left by SMEs.
Rebuttal.
Point of rebuttal denied. May the current speaker continue speaking.
Thank you very much. Members of this august house, indeed House of Intellectuals, let's also consider innovation, which is very expensive and risky. Developing new products and services or technologies require a lot, such as prototyping and
Point of
testing,
rebuttal
hiring of high-skilled workers, and purchasing of this same equipment. Now, for a new SME, we are talking about newly established here. These costs come before any profit or benefits, and they are not stabilized yet. Now, a tax holiday reduces this financial challenge during this critical stage of business, allowing them to reinvest their limited resource into innovation instead of paying tax. Now, to grow and hereby being able to pay taxes the following year. With these points, hopefully I've been able to convince you and not to confuse you that indeed SMEs need a tax holiday. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for educating us on this matter. I will now call upon the second speaker from the opposing side.
Right before I begin, an information to the House and to the proposing delegations. Small businesses do not pay corporate tax. Small businesses pay a tax which is known as turnover tax, which is only 5%. To the Good Samaritan to present to the judges. Bonafide delegates of this session, my name is Shepard Bwalia, coming all the way from the mighty Mnali boys, where only the best shall forever be good enough. Here to oppose the motion that has already been stated by my pre-current speaker. Now, before I go any further, allow me to pass my humble greetings to the judges, the moderator, the timekeeper, and my lovely audience. Now, here is why we're here to oppose to this motion. Number one, tax holiday is not unnecessary at the moment. Why do we say so? The tax holiday is not really needed because the government of the Republic of Zambia is already putting in place measures to help these SMEs. A tax holiday is not necessary because it is not helping these SMEs in any way. Instead, the government of the Republic of Zambia, through the Minister of Finance, Mr. Stumbeko Msokotwane, whilst he presented the 2026 national budget, they made reforms, and these are key reforms that are going to help the SMEs in thriving. For example, they have reduced the tax turnover percentage missing late payment from 5% from 5% to 0.5%, which actually shows that a 90% has been cut from this. Another measure that has been taken is that the government of the Republic of Zambia has increased the empowerment funds from 391 million to 585 million. All these funds are being allocated to empower these same SMEs. So for us, we feel as if a tax holiday is not really necessary because the government of the Republic of Zambia is already putting in place key measures and reforms to help our SMEs. To the Good Samaritan for further analysis.
Oh, point of interjection.
Point of interjection allowed.
Honorable member, according to the revised micro and small medium enterprise development policy, as I quote, it states that small and medium enterprises are one of the key drivers for poverty reduction and improvement of the quality for households due to their potential to create wealth and jobs. According to the World Bank SME final report of 2022, small and medium enterprises account for the majority of business worldwide. So what do you mean to say that a one-year tax holiday is unnecessary when you say that 90% of business and more than 50% of employment worldwide is supported by SMEs?
Point of rebuttal allowed.
You need to understand this. The evidence that he submitted was a finance meeting that was handled, where in the national budget they created policy reforms to address the needs of SMEs. So the point that he's trying to bring out is simple. Why are we promoting a tax holiday when already the government is doing enough to address the challenges of SMEs, which is certainly not tax? Thank you very much.
May the current speaker continue speaking.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The other thing that we have is that these tax holidays do not actually address the challenges that our local SMEs are facing. Our local SMEs are facing challenges like poor road infrastructure, inadequate market facilities, electricity supply, which we have all seen, and lack of business loans and training programs. A tax holiday will not be able to cater for all this because the government will actually need the revenues for them to create proper road infrastructure, market facilities, electricity supply, and business
Point of interjection.
loans.
Point of interjection allowed.
Mr. Speaker, you say the government will actually need the revenue, but does the tax holiday cut out all revenue received by the government? Because we're speaking of newly established SMEs, not the formerly established ones, and not to mention people in other forms of employment. Each and every one of these people pays taxes. So whatever do you mean? Please clarify.
Point of defense allocated to the current speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Now, we all know that for the government to be able to implement all of these funds, they will need taxes from everyone. That is why ZRA clearly states that it's my tax, your tax, and our destiny. So if we try and cut them out, how are we actually going to help the government raise these funds? Because government needs money from everybody. If government needed money from big companies, they would have actually given these SMEs to pay tax.
Denied. May the current speaker finish his points.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To the Good Samaritan for further analysis. Now, here's why we're here. We're here to say that a tax holiday is not essential. A tax holiday is not actually going to help these SMEs, but it's actually going to kill our economy further. And so we are here to allow team preposition to think about their argument, process them very well, and make sure that they do not miseducate or misinform the Zambian people, because a tax holiday is not a solution. Rather, it's actually adding salt to the wound. I, Shepard Bwalia, rest my case.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for those quotations. I will now call upon the third speaker from the proposing side.
Thank you indeed, Madam Chairperson, for that answer. Honorable Chairperson, distinguished judges, members of the House, my fellow debaters, good afternoon. My name is Miriam Kutemwa Mumba, coming from Kablonga Girls Secondary School, and I strongly propose to the motion that states that this House believes that newly established local SME should be granted a one-year tax holiday with the following points. Attracts investment. Investors prefer businesses with early, low risk, and higher chances of stability, as according to the revised National Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprise Development Policy, as I quote. The micro, small, and medium enterprises, SMEs, are one of the key drivers for poverty reduction and the improvement of quality for life for households due to their potential to create wealth and jobs. According to the World Bank SME final report.
Point of interjection, Mrs. Speaker.
Point of interjection denied. The speaker is in her first 1 minute of speaking.
According to the World Business SME final report 2022, I'll allow the Good Samaritan to pass this on to the judges for further analysis. Small and medium enterprises account to the majority of business worldwide. They represent about 90% and more than 50% to employment worldwide. Formal SMEs contribute up to 40% of national income in emerging economies. The report further notes that the numbers are significantly higher when informal SMEs are included in emerging markets, and most formal jobs are generated by SMEs. It reduces unemployment. Honorable members of this House, SMEs are known for their ability to employ people, as according to the National Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprise Development Policy, as I quote. The full potential of SMEs has not yet been tapped. According to the 2020 Labor Survey, the national combined rate of unemployment for males and females was 37.3% and 4.12.
Point
of interjection.
Point of interjection allowed.
First and foremost, your second speaker lacks the requisite of speech because she failed to answer my question. Now, realizing that 68% and more is allocated to the national budget, to the judges for further analysis. Thank you. Realizing that 68% and more is allocated to the national budget, where would the other money come from in order to allocate for the national budget if it's inadequate?
Honorable member from the opposing education, as I said earlier from your first speaker, I said during the pandemic, the global pandemic of COVID-19, from the period of 2020 to 2021, if I ask you a question, do you think SMEs would be able to stand up in that period? No, they were not. But big corporations like Tradekins were able to fill in the gaps that SMEs were leaving. If they were able to do that for 2 years, what's stopping them from doing it for 1 year? May I continue?
Rebuttal.
Point of rebuttal denied. May the current speaker continue speaking.
As according to the Zambian unemployment rate, I'll allow the Good Samaritan to pass this for the judges for further analysis. It encourages formalization of business. Many entrepreneurs out there really want to start up their businesses, but because of the fear of taxation, they sit there and hide their innovation, causing the economy not just to causing the economical failure we know of today. Honorable members of this House, the first years of a business is not a year of profit, but a year of survival. Therefore, burdening them with taxes will not only destroy our economy, but hide the great ideas.
Point of interjection allowed.
On a sad notice, Zambia is the 16th poorest country, meaning that our strength lies in our taxes. And moreover, we cannot rely on the loans that are coming from other countries because these loans come with interest and instructions on how to use them. So what do you mean, current speaker? What do you mean, current speaker? If the 1-year tax holiday should be implemented, then where would the other revenue for national development come from?
Point of defense.
Point of defense allowed.
Mr. Speaker, if a 1-year tax holiday helps a new SME survive its critical first year and become a profitable long-term taxpayer, won't this create more sustainable revenue? And in the future, if the business had collapsed in the first year?
Rebuttal.
Point of rebuttal allowed.
By the way, were you reading? Okay. My main question is, where would the revenue to fund the national budget, apart from borrowing money from other countries, come from?
Honorable
Because
member.
our strength lies in our taxes.
Point
Honorable.
of rebuttal.
Point of rebuttal allocated to the current speaker.
Honorable member from the opposing delegation. The simplest answer I have.
Order.
Point of order.
Point of order allowed.
Members of this auditorium, we are here to educate the whole audience, and we are not allowed for direct confrontation. Please refrain on educating the audience and not facing us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that correction, but I said honorable member from the opposing delegation. I faced this side because I just wanted him to hear me say that, but I'm sorry if I offended you. Honorable member from the opposing delegation, as I said earlier, these SMEs contribute to 90% of the business worldwide. And if you burden them with taxes, how is this benefiting the entrepreneur? What you are looking at is benefiting the nation worldwide, but not benefiting the entrepreneur. Why should it benefit the nation worldwide when it doesn't benefit me, who is the entrepreneur?
Point of rebuttals denied. May the current speaker finish her points.
As I said earlier, business formalization. Burdening them with taxes will not allow them to bring in their innovation. As I said earlier, the first years of a business is not a year of profit, but a year of survival. With this, I rest my case.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for that articulation. I will now call upon the third speaker from the opposing side.
A wise man by the name of Henry Emmanuel Manasseh once said, "The development of the nation does not lie in the government. It lies in us, the people. Our businesses, our companies, our SMEs are the ones in charge in order to take the development of the nation to the next level through taxation." But before I punctuate my authority into this room, may I simply say your protocol be highly observed. Now the news in details. Ladies and gentlemen, giving a 1-year tax holiday to newly established SMEs might seem helpful, but considering the 68% and more income tax rate contributed to the national budget, exempting businesses will limit funds for essential services such as healthcare, education, infrastructure, and national development. Moreover, ladies and gentlemen, some businesses tend to exploit the tax holiday, thereby repeatedly registering as new SMEs each year, which will bring about loopholes that encourage abuse and tax evasion. Moreover, the unfair competition that will be held to old SMEs, as they'll be taxed more in order to fill up the gaps for new
Point of
SMEs.
interjection.
You know what? I'm a
Point of
man.
interjection allowed.
Mr. Speaker, indeed, what an articulate speaker you are, magnificently and meticulously bringing yourself out, but I beg to differ. Mr. Speaker, you say the formerly established SMEs will be at a disadvantage, but what disadvantage is it to support the vulnerable, support the people who are unable to support themselves in the current time, and give them an uplifting foot? Is it called unfair advantage or equalization, leveling the playing field? Mr. Speaker, please clarify.
Now here's a fact that's hard to swallow.
Point of rebuttal allocated to the panel.
Madam Speaker, you're saying it will level the ground with formally established SMEs. Now, let me ask you a question. How were these formally established SMEs surviving before they were formally established, when they were newly established? Did they get a tax holiday? No. But did they survive? Yes.
Point of defense.
Point of defense allowed.
Honorable member, I'll give the best example that I can give. When a family is having a financial crisis and I am a child under the age of 18, does that allow me to go and look for a job for me to support my family? No, it does not. We should look at the fact that SMEs are newly established enterprises, meaning they have more than just one problem. And government is able to fulfill those problems by leveling the interest rate. As he said earlier, I can recall you saying that the interest rate would be unfair. The taxes for the already formed SMEs will be higher because of the SMEs not paying. I sadly disagree.
Rebuttal.
Point of rebuttal denied, unless it is coming from the current speaker.
Now, you cannot teach an old dog new tricks. Here's a question for you. What solution will be put in order to curb issues of re-registering new SMEs each year in order just for them to avoid taxes? Now,
May the current speaker continue speaking.
I'm a man of scenarios. Here's one for you. Imagine the government allocates a one-year tax holiday to the entire nation for newly established SMEs, and 5,000 newly established SMEs register this year. Now, simply because they don't pay taxes for 12 months, follow me very well, the government loses a large sum amount of money that must be used in order to fund services such as education, healthcare, hospitals, roads, and salaries.
5,000 new SMEs simply means 5,000 new places to start work, and 5,000 places hiring up to 10 workers. So 10 times 5,000 means 50,000 new jobs. And these people who are under that employment pay taxes. Might I ask, do they not pay taxes such as value-added tax, which every individual inside this auditorium does pay? No? So how does the government lose out when 50,000 people, as you said, are being employed? 50,000 people more are paying taxes. However, do they lose out?
By the way, it's not just about newly established SMEs. It's about the entire nation. The government is not just looking at newly established SMEs. They're looking at the development of the entire nation. And moreover, speaking of Zambia Revenue Authority, they too have other funds. They too have other programs that they have to fund, such as the Smart Voice program. Moreover, including the quiz that's being held concerning tax in universities, they also have to fund them. But imagine that they have to maintain the 68% and more income tax that's allocated to the national budget. They also have to maintain their funds, which will be allocated to such programs. Where are they going to get the money? Or maybe you're going to fund them. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring to light. Allow me to predict the future of what will happen. Road projects will be delayed. Hospitals will run short on medicine, and the government will be struggling to fund essential services such as infrastructure, of which at the end of the day, now the government looks incompetent. And in order to save their credibility, the government will tend to bring in more loans, of which when we look at these loans, ladies and gentlemen...
Each speaker is only allowed 2 points of interjection.
An interjection or an interruption? You can follow me for an interruption. Now, ladies and gentlemen, when we look up to what will happen, the government will tend to get more loans from other countries, of which when we look at these loans, they come with interest and instructions on how to use them, thereby limiting their usage to us as Zambians. Being a Zambian, I say, our strength lies in our taxes. If we truly want to develop this nation, our strength lies in our taxes, and we cannot afford gambling it. Kindly ask him for 30 seconds, please.
30 seconds allowed.
Oh, thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as we have come to the end of our news program, allow me to run you through the headlines. I've spoken about increased risk of abuse and tax evasion, limited funds for essential services, and unfair competition that it will bring about to old SMEs, as they will be taxed more in order to fill up the gaps for new SMEs. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I've been with you, Henry, Emmanuel, Manasseh. Unfortunately, our sign language interpreter wouldn't come because he went to pay his taxes. But from me and my fellow gentlemen, it's bye-bye for now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for that articulation. We are now moving on to the last two speakers of this debate. I will call upon the summarizer from the proposing side.
I am ecstatically delighted and misproportionately flabbergasted with the enormous gratification and appreciation for such information, in which the pre and current subsequent matter has been thoroughly demonstrated. But it would be erroneous of me to carry on without noticing the high dignitaries in this house of debate. To the panel of adjudicators, I salute you. To the chairperson, I bow to your timekeeper. Keep your time on track. Wait for no man. Time once wasted is never regained. In simplicity or diplomatic etiquette, be highly and most sincerely observed. Now, bouncing back to the motion stipulates as articulate, this House believes that newly established SMEs should be given a one-year tax-free holiday. End of articulation. Members of the Auditorium House of Intellectuals, it is not the government that creates jobs. It is the small businesses which are the artifacts of employment. And that is why Minister of Finance, Mr. Sutumbekom Sokotwani, himself outlined the importance of SMEs to our economy. He stipulated as articulate. Small and medium-sized enterprises are the true lifeblood of our national economy. I repeat, lifeblood of our national economy. With SMEs representing over 80% of national employment, there cannot be any conversation about industrial development and wealth creation without fostering in the role of SMEs. May the goody-goody do as wise. Members of the Auditorium House of Intellectuals, SMEs are often vulnerable when it comes to the first year due to the fact that they cope with challenges such as unstable revenue, no savings, limited startup costs, and limited access to affordable loans. Members of the Auditorium House of Intellectuals, to show that I'm a speaker who speaks within the boundaries of debate, allow me to present my evidence coming from www.ceicdata.zambialendingrate.com, which stipulated as articulate Zambia's bank lending rate as for January 2025 was at 29.120. I repeat, 29.120. May the goody-goody do as wise. Members of the Auditorium House of Intellectuals, starting a business is expensive in a country, especially in a country like Zambia, where start-off capital is high and loans carry double-digit interest rates. I repeat, double-digit interest rates. Members of the Auditorium House of Intellectuals, the way forward is not to increase the bank lending rate, but rather to increase the period in which the money should be retained. Members of the Auditorium House of Intellectuals, new local SMEs in Zambia lack skill management and expertise, which can be attributed to limited access to capital and training, lack of structured skill development products, and broader challenges like weak entrepreneurial culture and limited access to information. Members of the Auditorium House of Intellectuals, another challenge faced by the newly established SMEs is unfair competition from the foreign SMEs. Members of the Auditorium House of Intellectuals, most of our foreign SMEs are the Chinese, but members of the Auditorium House of Intellectuals, allow me to present my evidence to this House of Debate. Members of the Auditorium House of Intellectuals, here with me is a chart showing where a newly established local Zambian SME borrows 50,000 from the Bank of Zambia and uses it for the following: liquidity and stock, licenses, rent, ZRA obligations, and startup costs. But members of the Auditorium House of Intellectuals, when returning this money back to the bank, this newly established local SME is supposed to return that money within 6 months. I repeat, 6 months. But members of the Auditorium, how sure are we that that SME made enough profit to return back a 64,560 by adding the interest rate, which was at 14,560? May the goody-goody do as well. Members of the Auditorium House of Intellectuals, my other chart is clearly showing a Zambian SME from China, as I would say, foreign SME, who borrows money from the People's Bank of China, which is 50,000, and uses it for the same thing that a Zambian SME would use. But the difference is that when returning the money back to China, this SME, from the SME's income, they only get 3%. I repeat, 3%. Members of the Auditorium, 30 seconds to sum up. Members of the Auditorium.
Point of order.
Point of order.
May the good
denied.
Samaritan pass this on to the
Serious point
judges.
of order.
Members of the
Serious
Auditorium
point
House
of
of
order
Intellectuals,
denied.
allow me to rebuttal. I heard the first speaker stipulate as I articulate that what they want is lasting development. But members of the Auditorium House of Intellectuals, is it really lasting development if a newly established SME is not stable and fully being put in a competitive market where foreign SMEs are venturing? Members of the Auditorium House of Intellectuals, Speaker 2 from the opposing delegation said that newly established newly established SMEs face challenges. So the question is, if he knows they face challenges, why still put them in that competitive market? With these factual points, the long enigmatic child of the mighty Kablonga Girls Secondary School rests her case.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for that brief yet detailed and educational summary. I will now call upon the last speaker of this debate, the summarizer from the opposing side, to give us their rebuttals.
Before I get on with my points, may I allow me please to offer a few rebuttals to team preposition. First of all, starting with the summarizer, you do not talk before the moderator allows you to continue talking. She asked for 30 seconds, and before she could even grant her the 30 seconds, she continued to talk. Members of the House, is that an intellectual speaking? How can you believe what she's saying when her behavior is not in line with the speaking? In view of time, may I simply say all protocol be highly and highly observed. Now, standing before you is no other than the summarizer from team opposition, strongly opposing to the motion that has already been quoted. So now let's deep dive into the points. As my first speaker already defined the term tax, we need to understand, what is tax used for? Tax is used for funding schools. It's used to pump in money into the healthcare sector. It's used for power and infrastructure. Now, if we start to give the SMEs a one-year tax holiday, what's going to happen? The monies that the SMEs pay is not going to be given as tax. To bring this example to life, I had brought two notes with me. Imagine you have 100 kwacha and a 1 kwacha, okay? So if I removed a 1 kwacha from this 100 kwacha, how much do you have? A 99 kwacha, isn't it? Is that 99 kwacha 100 kwacha? No. In the same way, all the tax altogether makes up the revenue that the government uses to develop the nation. As soon as the SMEs stop paying, that 1 kwacha could have added to the values of the revenue that has been earned and would be helping in funding development. But once that money is removed, how do you expect development to happen when the government is dealing with less and less funds? That is what my first speaker had mentioned. Now, going into my second point, team preposition actually talked on it, and I'm very established, and I'm actually humbled for the fact that you talked about it. They talked about all the problems that SMEs face. What are the problems that they face? Limited access to market, skills, infrastructure. But did you notice one thing? They did not talk about tax. They didn't have any evidence to explain to us that SMEs are complaining about the high tax rate. SMEs are complaining about how they are failing to pay tax. No, they're tax compliant. So what's the point of giving them a one-year tax holiday when they don't even understand the value of it? To bring this point to mind, I can explain to you what just happened today when we all got here, different schools. What happened? When we got here, we had breakfast. So imagine if ZRA decided to bring us food right now. Would you know the importance of the food that you're about to eat when you're already satisfied? No. How are the SMEs going to know the importance of a tax holiday when they're not even crying for it, when they're not complaining about it? Members of the auditorium, in conclusion, what have we learned in this debate? Number one, when you implement this one-year tax holiday, the government will have less money to deal with, less money to develop the nation, taking the nation backwards when we're supposed to be going forward. Number two, as soon as the problems that the SMEs have been facing, they've talked about them, lack of access to markets, lack of skills, lack of infrastructure, but no tax. To show that I'm a speaker from without but from within, I'm passing all my evidence to the judges for further clarification. Thank you so much. Members of the auditorium, a good speaker knows when his time is up. With all that being said and done, TITHANI, not AI for artificial intelligence, but NI for natural intelligence. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for ending us on a glorious note. We have come to the end of this brilliant battle of the brains, but stay tuned as the judges tally the results. Who do you think has won? Monali boys or Kablonga girls? Stay tuned.
Healthcare is a fundamental right for every citizen. In Zambia, the health sector is being strengthened thanks to the strategic use of tax revenues. Taxes collected from individuals and businesses are vital in funding healthcare services. These funds are used to build hospitals, purchase medical equipment, and ensure the availability of essential medicines, providing quality healthcare for all. Thanks to the ZRA's efforts, new hospitals and health centers are being constructed across Zambia. These new facilities bring quality healthcare closer to communities, ensuring that more people can receive the treatment they need. Tax revenues also ensure that hospitals are equipped with modern medical equipment. From diagnostic machines to surgical tools, these resources are essential for providing comprehensive care. A portion of the tax funds is dedicated to training and paying our hard-working healthcare professionals. Investing in their education and skills means better healthcare for patients. By supporting healthcare through tax revenues, we are building a healthier Zambia. Zambia Revenue Authority. Your tax, my tax, our destiny.
The results are in. The judges have decided. Munali boys. You have scored. After a fierce contest, Munali boys, you have scored. $884. A big hand for Munali boys. Kablonga girls. After all the prayers, and all the debate, you have scored. In this fierce battle up against Munali boys, Kablonga girls, you have scored. $800. Kablonga girls, you have scored a total of 800. A total of 859 points. Which means that Munali boys qualifies to the semi-finals. See you next week for another debate. Don't miss it for the world.